What's going on YouTube? This is IPSEC, and this video is going to be about combining Canary tokens with Active Directory honeypot accounts. So whenever someone tries to perform a password spray against your domain, against all administrators, you'll get an email because they'll try to log into your honeypot account. Or even better, we're going to set it up in a way where it's kerberoastable, so if someone ever tries to extract the ticket so they can try to crack it, you'll get an email before they can even open up Hashcat. And we're going to do all of this with the little known feature of scheduled tasks that can be created to fire upon a specific event log entry. So it's a very low maintenance thing to do, and I wouldn't do it on a large company because large companies should have like Splunk, Elastic, or some other centralized logging that you can put some type of alert in there. This is more targeted towards the small companies that don't want to do a lot of logging. They don't want any overhead because honeypots themselves are a great way to detect people without high false positives. So with that being said, let's just jump in. So here we have just a normal Windows domain. Before we get into actually creating a honey account and event filter, let's talk about Canary tokens for a couple minutes because that's going to be the heart of this video. Now, you can run your own Canary token service, but when you do, chances are it's going to crash and you won't know it. And because of the way I use honeypots, I don't get constant notifications. Hopefully, if I'm not lucky, it's once a year, if that. These things are really never supposed to be triggered. So when you don't get those alerts constantly, you never know if the service is working or not, and you'll just forget about it, right? So when you use someone else's infrastructure, it helps guarantee it's going to be working for those things that don't notify you that much. I just use the free option on Canary tokens because it does everything I need. I think there is a paid version that gives you more types of tokens. In addition, it gives it probably a way to better manage the tokens, but really you can hack away with the web token and DNS token to do anything you want. For instance, like the sensitive command token. This is going to create a registry file that makes a computer perform a DNS request when a certain command is ran. Like we can type whoami.exe, and whenever whoami is ran, it will send a DNS request and we'll get a notification via email. Now, the special thing about this token is they also add in data to the DNS request. I think it's like base 32 encoded. So it will like say what username and what computer the command came from. But you can hack away with the web token. This just gives you a URL. If you put parameters on that URL, you can add things to the alert. So in the instance of this, which is a honey account, the login failure would trigger it. And we could also append data like the computer it came from because that's in the event log. But I'm not going to do that because it's going to be extra complexity to actually parse the event. In addition, I don't like my domain controllers being on the internet to begin with, so I just do DNS tokens. So let's see how this works. We add an email, and then we just add a reminder when this one was triggered. So I'm going to call this honey account, and we create the token. We get the DNS name, and we can see I don't have an email. If I do a NS lookup, paste in the Canary token, we get a response, and we should have an email right now that just says it was triggered. The downside to DNS tokens is the source IP is not going to be the IP that triggered it just because how DNS works. So this is going to be a DNS server's IP, not my personal IP. So that's about all we need to know from honey tokens. So we just copy this, put it in a notepad, and it will become relevant in a little bit. So the next thing is we need to open up Task Scheduler and see exactly how this operates. And I normally don't start off in Task Scheduler because it's just a pain to use. You'll see what I mean in a minute, but we put a computer in. I'm doing it on the domain controller. We can create a task, call it something. So honey account monitor. We want to run whether the user's logged in or not. And because we monitor the event log, we need run with highest privilege. And then the trigger, this is where the magic comes in. Because most people, when they think of scheduled task, they think it's like cron. It goes on a schedule. But you can do it upon many events like task creations. But what we want is on an event. And now if we just did basic, I mean, it doesn't really give us that much information. I can't imagine much of a use case for this. If we do custom, we can do a new event filter. And it's going to give us a GUI that's overcomplicated and doesn't give us a lot of customizations. It takes a while once you click new event filter for it to do something. We can see it's not responding now. I don't know why this is the slowest process ever, but it is. Man, it is still waiting. It normally doesn't take this long. There we go. So this isn't that great. I mean, we could select sources, so this is a bit better than before because we have like keywords and things like that, but this isn't like, we got to do security, event, let's say 4625, which I think is account login failure. We can do the keyword of failure, but the user, this isn't going to be the actual user of like the login request. So this doesn't help us. We want to do XML and edit the query manually. And this is very, very intimidating, right? Let's just paste this query in so we can look at it. And I guess we can make this bigger. It's all like, I think, XPATH syntax. And if you just look at this, it's easy to give up quickly. But let's open up Event Viewer real quick. So I don't know why I canceled that, but oh well. So let's go to Event Viewer. And we can connect to DC01. Where did that go? There we go. Security. And let's create a login failure. We got a lot of login requests, right? But let's create a login failure. So run as /user administrator at @hyrule, which is my domain. CMD. Put in a bad password. Refresh this. We should have got a failure. Wonder if failures aren't logged by default. Account was logged off. That's bizarre. Put in a bad password. Huh. Let's see. Did not expect this. GPMC. Let's create a thing to make sure this is logged. Default domain controller policy. Let's edit you. Windows settings, security. Then local policies, I think. Audit. Login events. Success and failure. Account, I think it's just account. So we do PowerShell, so we can invoke command, computer name, DC01, script, block, GP update /force, and that should tell our domain controller to pull the new policy that hopefully is auditing account logon events. Takes a minute to run. Maybe longer than a minute. There we go. Run as /user administrator at Hyrule IPsec rocks CMD. Password is incorrect. And I guess we got a Kerberos account failure. So there is that. I bet if we did event viewer on localhost, this would be where the 4624 is. Let's open up another one. Windows logs, security. So whenever we create a honey token thing, we have to monitor probably two events. We want 4771 for failure in Kerberos, and also this one, which is the 4625. If I was saying 4024, that's account success or login success. So we want to create an event filter for this. So I'm going to click on details because this lets us go to the XML view, which makes our syntax much easier to write. So let's see. I'm going to erase this because that's not like useful. And all we do is put a star and then the very first parameter. So we want event ID first, right? So the first parameter is going to be system. I can't highlight, but you see me clicking. So let's do system. then just the event ID, and that was 4771, I want to say. Let's double check. Event log, event ID 4771. So I think this is correct. The only thing I don't know is if we have to put this in parentheses or not. But essentially, every field in XML, we're just going down with brackets, I guess. So once you do it enough, it somewhat makes sense. So the thing I like about the event viewer is we can just create a custom view and test this out before going to the schedule task thing. So we paste this in. We'll call it like honey account. And we get the one login failure. So now we know if we created this, it would work. Well, it would notify us on every single login failure. So we'd probably get spammed and this honey account thing wouldn't work that well. We want to create it upon a certain user now. So let's create a user. Let's do net user /domain/add. We'll call it Minna and do a super complex password like that. Longer than 14 characters, sure. Password policy, really? Some capitals, some symbols, some numbers. So now we have an account called Minna added. So if we go back to our query, we're going to create a new line and then do the bracket. And this one's no longer under the system. The field we want is under event data. Like we don't need this system here. We want data and we got another field data. So we'll do event data because that's the first field. Then data is equal to, let's just start out with administrator because Minna doesn't have any login failures yet. And if we copy this, actually we forgot the and because these are two Boolean things. So we join them with the and, go back to event log. Let's filter this, paste. We still just have one. Now, the issue is going to be if we chose a generic user and this exists anywhere in the log because we don't have it filtering upon like target username and administrator. We could fix that up. I think if we did, let's see, event data, data like that. So now we're going inside of the data fields and we do @name is equal to target user name like that. And then because we're already in data, when we escape out of this bracket, we just do equals administrator, I think. I think that's valid. We'll see. And this is one of the gotchas. If you Google it, it's going to say and, it's going to do like an and data equals administrator, but that is the wrong way to do this. So let's go in here, filter like this. Oh, whoops. That was wrong. Data. Get rid of data. There we go. Paste, and we have it. So let's go to Notepad, get rid of this. So the last thing I want to do is just make sure we are really filtering upon target username. Because again, every example I saw online did this, and data is equal. And what that did is make sure that this field exists, and then if anything was called data or administrator. So this is what we want. And if we did target SID, which is another field that exists, we're not, but the field exists, but our username's not going to be there, right? So let's filter, paste, we get nothing. And let's see, can I find event log monitoring or XML Windows? Is it going to come up right away? XML data. I just want to show you the one post. No. Event log filter. This. I think they talk about doing, let's see, data. I can't find it. It's not worth it. But if we did target SID like this and data equals administrator, this query is going to come back because target SID is in the event. It's just not valid to administrator, right? Yeah, so target SID's value is actually this. So it's just making sure the target SID exists and one of the fields has administrator. So if you ever go to Google, make sure you do it this way if you want to be as specific as possible, right? So we get this. Let's just make sure the target user name, make sure this is good. That was a long tangent over something that probably didn't need to, but that's what happens when you do this live, right? So that's valid. We just want to change it to be Midna now. So let's filter, change this from administrator to Midna, which is going to be our honey account. And we don't get any hits because it doesn't have any failures yet. So let's go back to our run as command, do Midna, put in a password, refresh this, and we have it. So there's one last thing I want to do before we go into the event is monitor both 4625, I think it is, and this one. So let's go back into Notepad, fix this, and let's do a OR here. System event ID is equal to 4624. Like that. I think we put this in parentheses. That would make sense. So let's see what happens here. Filter, paste. Awesome. So I bet if I opened up a local event viewer, so let's open up event viewer again and paste it, we'll also see the login failure. So custom views, honey account, filter like this, and we get it. So we got two things, and the account name that was failed is Midna from the account administrator. And these are 4624s, so we know our filter picks up both 4624 and 4771. So we can go back to the schedule task, and now we can create the task, and we'll call it honey account. Again, we want to run whether the user's logged in or not with highest privilege. New. On an event. Custom. New event filter. Wait for this to come. It takes a while. XML. Edit. Paste. We need an action. So new. Start a program. Let's do NS lookup, and then go back to our notepad where we have the canary and paste this in. And then we have to put our password in, and now we have this task. So task has not been ran. We're going to do administrator first. Put in a bad password. Task has not been ran, which is good. We want to make sure we don't send false positives. Now I can do Midna, the honeypot account. And task is running. Task has been completed. We go back here. And we just got an email with a new trigger. So everything is working now. There are a few other things we can do to make this more like appealing to an attacker, right? So the first is if we go Active Directory users and computers, we can make him a member of administrator. So member of domain administrators. Administrators. There we go. That'll be fine. So now we'll be able to administer the domain. The other thing I like doing, which can tip off an attacker, is setting the login hours for honeypot accounts. So if we do a run as we do this, it's just username and password is incorrect. Now, I never want my honeypot to get like abused, so we can deny all logins. But when you do this, now the error message on an invalid password is also account restriction. So it kind of tips off the attacker that a honeypot may exist, but I still like doing this because even though an attacker knows a honeypot exists, they may avoid it, they're going to slow down their operation tremendously because they start second guessing at themselves a lot. So you want them to know these type of honeypots and deception technology does exist because it's going to make them slow down. The other thing that we could do is make it so this account is Kerberoastable, and then if they ever request a ticket, to send us an email. So to do that, we go into command prompt and do set SPN-A to add it. The user is going to be Midna, and the host name, we'll do dco1.highroll.ipsec.rocks, the domain name, and then the port, it's me, so I'm going to do port 9001. The username this gets applied to is Midna. So now it's going to create that SPN. So now if I go over into my attack box, we can do a, get user SPN, and then I think it's domain. So Highroll ipsec rocks, and then slash the username for login. I think this is it. Yep. So here we can see the ticket exists. If we do dash request or lowercase, we'll actually get the ticket. Now there's going to be no logs of this happening at first because this isn't logged by default to my knowledge. So we'll find out real quick. And I'm going to find out a lazy way. So let's go back to the event viewer on the DC. I'm going to filter the custom view. I'm going to take out this event code data. And then I'm also going to take out this. So we're just looking at any field that contains Midna. So let's see. Oh, did it get created? This may be it. 4768, no, 69. I believe this is it. So I think it did get logged. 4769, is that now default? Let's do it a few times. So if at first it doesn't have, well, if first you succeed, try, and try again to make sure it's valid, I guess. So there's 2. So now we have a few requests. So do we have multiple? We do. So anytime this Kerberoast thing is happening now, we're getting a notification. And this one is service name. So if I wanted to go, well, first we can say, or system ID. I bet we could have done it here. Or event ID equals 4624. Or event ID is equal to. So this is probably the better way to do multiple event codes. 4769. And target username is equal to Midna. And this is what we can do, the or. Or, yeah, we'll go super specific. I don't know what way is better. So we can say, or the data field. Let's see. This is service name. Service name is equal to Midna. So I think this query is exactly what we want. So honey account, filter, paste, and there we have it. So now whenever a Kerberoast operation happens, we'll get notified. Well, we don't, not yet. We have to create this or edit our task. So properties, triggers, custom event filter, edit. This is such a painful thing to do every time. There's one last gotcha after we do this, is the domain controller logs I don't believe get replicated immediately. Well, I don't think they ever get replicated. So like this login failure may only appear on the domain controller that the computer went to. So we will want to export the event and then add this to all other domain controllers. We can probably do it through group policy, or you can just open up Task Scheduler, connect to the DCs if you don't have that many. Remember, if you're a big organization with like 20 DCs, you should be using Splunk, Elastic, or some type of log management and doing an alert that way. If you only have like 2 DCs, I mean, it's not that big of a pain to go import task, click Honey account. And then we're probably going to have to type the password again. And now we have the account, Honey account task on this computer as well. So if we ever try to use that Midna account, we should get emailed. So we have another Canary token, probably me failing to log in, but I'm going to do this again. So p at my password, which was password 1. But look back here, and immediately we have an email from our Honey account, someone retrieving that ticket. So hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Take care, and I will see you all next time.